The Pokemon card market is going crazy at the moment. Whether it's sealed product or singles, we're seeing gains across the board. With that being said, let's take a look at some of the Scarlet and Violet singles that are seeing the biggest growth at the moment. What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. As I just mentioned, we're going to be talking about Scarlet and Violet singles in today's video. Over the past few months, a lot of these cards have been seeing some pretty significant price growth, and it doesn't necessarily seem to matter what set it is. It seems more like it's based on the popularity of the card itself. So let's go right ahead and get into the first card. But first, did you know 90% of you still aren't subscribed here on the channel? If you find yourself enjoying this video at any point, consider hitting that subscribe button. It'll help me out a lot and help me continue to grow the channel. We're creeping up on 4K and I'd love to hit it by the end of the year. All right, back to the video. So I figure we start this list off with a banger, and that is going to be the Bubble Mew. The Bubble Mew is pretty steady most of the year, around $100, but back in October it started growing and really didn't slow down too much. It had its first spike around mid-October when it went from $95 up to $170. It continued to slowly grow going towards the end of November, and then over the last couple weeks it just spiked like crazy. It's going for over $300, $302 as I'm recording this video. That's over a 225% increase over the last 3 months. It's officially become the biggest card in Paldean Fates. I think a few of us were surprised. Charizard seemed to be on top for a while, but there is a wide variety of Charizard chase cards that we have already in the Scarlet and Violet era. Bubble Mew just doesn't show any signs of slowing down. It's a super popular card and it'll continue to grow. So let's stay on subject and talk about Charizard from Paldean Fates. The Charizard EX saw a bit of a similar price growth pattern, sitting around $100 again middle of October, and then spiked up to about $145. Now coming into December, it looks like it's growing even more. It looks like it's on path to hit $175 in the next week or two. This may be because of the Bubble Mew. A lot of people are opening up Paldean Fates. A lot of these are on the market, and if people can grab this card as well, they're going to want it. This is one to keep an eye on. I feel like if you have a couple of these, you might want to offload them if this card continues to grow. Again, a very cool one, and I think a lot of people prefer this to some of the other Charizards from the era. And I guess we might as well stay on the subject to Charizard because we're seeing the other Charizards slowly gain momentum as well. The 151 Charizard saw huge growth back in September to October. It was going for about $120 and spiked up to over $200, around $205. Since then, it's kind of bounced back and forth between $175 and $200. But as of now, it's sitting at its high of $208. This is the most expensive it's been all year. It looks like it's going to continue growing. I don't know how much that Blooming Waters collection box is going to affect the price of 151 singles. It seems they're just extremely desirable. People are willing to pay whatever they got to pay to finish their master sets. It could dip, but as more and more people have gotten to the hobby, more and more people that have that 151 nostalgia, I think it's just going to drive the price of 151 product up, and in return, this Charizard card. And now on to my personal favorite Charizard, the Charizard EX Special Illustration Rare from Obsidian Flames. I really love this artwork. I sold mine. It graded a PSA 9. It seems like it's really hard to get this card in a PSA 10. There seem to be consistent nicks on like all of them. So if you can get a 10 in this, I feel like it's going to fetch you a pretty penny. But since about November 20th, this card has been going up with no signs of slowing down. It was going for $49, and right now it's up to $67. Will this card return to $100? I'm not too sure. I think as a whole, the community doesn't necessarily love this card. I really like it. I kind of like that symmetrical, like crystal shattered glass thing it's got going on. Looks really nice in person. I think I might have to pick one of these up before it starts going up even more in value. I wish I still had it in my collection, but I definitely don't think it's going to be the most expensive of the 3 Charizards. There's going to be plenty of opportunity to pick this guy up. All right, next up, let's talk about a couple illustration rares, and we'll get back to some more of these bigger hits. You've got the Bulbasaur from Stellar Crown. Again, significant growth on this guy. On release, it was going for more than it is right now. It was pre-ordering at about $50, but it dropped pretty drastically down to $30. Since then, though, it's been growing and it's back to $46. This is a really good one, and I think this is one of the key cards that's going to like make Stellar Crown stand out in the long run. People are going to want that set in the future just to try to get this Bulbasaur and the Squirtle, which we're going to talk about next. I don't feel like this one's going to drop. I don't think it's going to catch up to a card like Magikarp, but I could see this one creeping upwards of like $75 to even $100 within the next couple of years. So Squirtle, similar thing. This one's actually at its all-time high. It was pre-ordering at just under $50, dipped down all the way to $38, but since has gone back up to $53. Again, really cool card. One of the key standouts in Stellar Crown, and I think it's going to drive the value of that set in the future. For now, I feel like this one's going to keep going up. Personally, I like this Squirtle and that Bulbasaur we just talked about more than the 151 variants, but time will tell which version is going to be more popular. The next card is going to be the illustration rare Eevee from Twilight Masquerade. I just sold my copy of this card over the weekend for about $58, but it seems like that might have been a mistake. It looks like this card's going to keep going up. I feel like there's going to be a lot of hype with it, especially with Prismatic Evolutions coming up. It's gone up from 45 to 62 in a matter of 3 months. Again, it doesn't really look like this one's going to slow down. I think it's going to keep going. Will it hit $100? I don't know. It depends how many people are like going hard on the EVs. I think Prismatic Evolutions will keep people pretty occupied for a while. They might not necessarily run back to this card, but it is a really good card. To me, it is the best card in Twilight Masquerade, and I really think this one's going to continue going up. Hopefully, I don't regret selling this one too much, and it doesn't hit a high that Magikarp is reaching right now. Before we get to Magikarp, you know Magikarp has to be on this list. I want to talk about a couple other cards that I feel like people may have been sleeping on, maybe have been forgetting about. We'll start with Iron Crown, the Moon Crown. Remember all the hype with this card when it first released? It seemed like there was market buyouts and it just went crazy. If we look at the 1 year graph, this card was pre-ordering at $55 and immediately, like within a week of release, was going for $95. I think it sold for even more in certain situations. Since then, it has just dipped all the way back down to $53. And about 2 weeks ago, it seemed to spike up again. There was a lot of purchases of this card at about $56, $57. It went all the way up to $75 where it's sitting right now. This card is really, really nice. It's an awesome card. I don't think it's going to maintain $75. We'll have to see, but it's one of the cards that have seen rapid growth over the last few weeks. Another one from the same set, Raging Bolt. The highest this card went for was about $100 back in May. It dipped all the way back down though to $66, but has since climbed. It seems like when people noticed it going up, they started purchasing more of them, drove the price up to $97. It looks like it's on track to breaking $100 in the next couple of days. I feel like this one will go up a little more. A lot of people seem to like this. The ancient trait is definitely more interesting to me than the future, and I think there's potential for this one to continue growing. I don't know how much potential for long-term value, but in the short term, I think this one's going to keep going up at least a little bit more. All right, now I've got 2 cards from Surging Sparks I want to talk about. You know, we're only about a month into Surging Sparks, but it has been a bit of a crazy market. We know that set was a little bit underprinted. I don't want to talk too much on it because there was a lot of back and forth and discussions on my last video going over my points I made on Surging Sparks. Will there be a reprint? Won't there? I don't know. I feel like there will be, but we're not going to talk too deep on that. We have the gold Pikachu. As we know, gold cards are very difficult to pull. The special illustration we all know is sitting upwards of $500 right now. It's about $485. But a lot of people are having trouble pulling the gold variant. A lot of people seem to want it. It's driving the price up even more. This one might be on track to hitting $200 in the next couple of weeks. It was pre-ordering like as low as $40, $50, but is now sitting all the way up at $166. Very cool card. We all know hyper rares are really, really difficult to pull. So we'll have to see. I think this one's going to continue to go up. I also wanted to touch on the Latias EX. Seems to be the second best card in the set. A lot of people really like this one. I think it's awesome. I really wish the Latios was an EX that could go with it too. Something about having one half with the texture, one half without is just not as cool as it could be. But again, this card has seen some pretty decent gains. It was as low as $185, but is now sitting at $252. It has backed off a little bit from all the growth it had about a week or two ago, but we'll have to see where this one lies. I think it might dip a bit, but we'll have to see. Depending on how much Surging Sparks gets opened up, depending on how much is on the market, this card could be affected pretty significantly. And the last card to end the video, I wanted to end on the Magikarp. It seems like this is pretty much everyone's favorite card from the Scarlet and Violet era. Not much sign of slowing down. It seems like this guy just keeps on growing. About a year ago, it was sitting around $55, and I think a lot of people thought it was expensive at that price. In June, it jumped up to $150, backed off to around $105, but is now back stronger than ever at $188. Price charting has the PSA 10 value of this card at about $750, but the last 4 sales have all been over $1,000. You had one at $1,000, $13.50, $12.75, $12.25. So even at this high price tag, people really want this card. It's a really tough one to pull. We've talked about it in multiple videos. Paldea Evolved has like good pull rates, but with so many illustration rares, it's really hard to pull that specific card you're looking for. This one might bounce back down a bit, but I think this is going to be on track to breaking $200 sooner than later. We'll have to see how the market's affected by prismatic evolutions and whatever other sets are teased in the coming weeks and months. It might make people forget about this card or drop this card to try to pick up sealed product or the new shiny set. But long term, I think this card is going to hold value and stay up there in the top few cards of the Scarlet and Violet era. Alright guys, that's going to be it for today's video. Let me know, what was your favorite card on this list? Have you been picking any of these up? Have you been offloading singles? I've seen a few people collecting these Bubble Mews over the year. I think I saw somebody in the Toronto area sell like a dozen PSA 10 Bubble Mews. If you're that guy, I'm sure you're doing pretty good right now. Do you think the Magikarp is going to drop or continue to grow? What about the gold Pikachu? I feel like that one is going to be a little bit trickier to determine right now. I feel like a lot of new people are getting into the hobby. It's a pretty exciting time to be in the Pokemon TCG with everything that's coming out in 2025. I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm really looking forward to continue making videos for you guys. But anyways, that's going to be it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button. I'd really appreciate it. We're trying to grow the channel. I'd love to hit 4K before 2025. That'd be awesome if you could help me reach that goal. All right, guys, again, for like the third time, that's going to be it. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace!